All right, Sport Fight X, we're sitting here with Jacob the Brick Allman. Jacob, you've got a big fight coming up in the Sport Fight X Grand Prix tournament, 155 pound. It's called Undefeated because all of the fighters in it are amateur fighters that was undefeated turning pro. So tell us a little bit about yourself, what you've got as far as BJJ belts, championships you've won at high school, collegiately, what you did. Just tell us about Jacob Allman.
Like you say, Jacob Allman, competing in the Sport Fight X 155 pound tournament in a couple of weeks. I'm 24 years old, a couple of state titles in high school I won in wrestling. Been training mixed martial arts for about a year, blue belt under Johnny Husky. 7-0 as an amateur. This is my pro debut, and excited to compete in the tournament. Like you say, I mean, everybody's undefeated that's coming into it, pro debut, and so I feel like somebody's gonna get something big out of this. You know, somebody's gonna go to one of the big organizations from this tournament. So I feel like that's a really good opportunity for me to go in, showcase my skills. I don't want to go in and fight a 1-3 guy in my pro debut. I want to go in, fight someone with a legitimate amateur record, or or pro record with a pro winning record. I don't want to fight a guy who was 4-3 as an amateur. I'm excited to fight an undefeated guy in my first pro fight. So training's really good right now. It's the best I've ever looked. I'm excited for the tournament, and 2 weeks and we'll be there. Awesome.
What is your greatest strength as a fighter?
Well, obviously my wrestling. I mean, I wrestled competitively for a decade, and that's definitely my greatest asset to the sport of fighting. I like to think I'm pretty athletic, so I'm having a nice transition into the ground game, the combo of catch wrestling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and trained extensively in catch wrestling, a good bit in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and work my hands quite a bit too. It's tough to show sometimes that your hands are coming along when you're out there and you're in a fight, and immediately you go to your bread and butter and you start wrestling. Immediately that happens when you get out there in the pressure situations. But so far so good. I didn't lose a round in my amateur career, so I got a game plan. I don't change it for any opponent, no matter his record or who he's beat or anything. I've got my game. I go out there. I'm a catch wrestler. I go out there. I look for submissions. I will not get out of position. If the opportunity arises, I'll take the submission. Otherwise, I'll just try to pound the guy out. I'll spend the whole fight trying to mount him if I have to. But that's my game, and when I fight, look to see takedowns and big slams, nice trips, and judo throws, and control on top.
Well, I mean, you're considered one of the top wrestlers to ever come out of the state of North Carolina with 2 state titles. I think overall, you only lost 7 or 17 times or something like that.
171 and 13 in high school.
171 and 13. Most people from North Carolina can't even count past 190, so I mean that's pretty tough.
It's a good record, and it's a good pedigree to have for mixed martial arts. But at the same time, this is a different sport. I mean, I've got to work just as hard as any other mixed martial artist. I mean, lots of times you watch the UFC and you see all-Americans, national champions who don't transition well into mixed martial arts. So you see it every day. I mean, it takes a specific type of wrestler to excel at this, regardless of what his high school record was, his college pedigree. It takes an athletic wrestler to excel at this sport, because you're gonna have to put the hands together. You're gonna have to start training off of your back, whether it happens in fights or not. You've got to start training off your back. You got to start throwing hands. You got to start defending hands. You got to start throwing kicks. So I mean, I train as I don't use that as something to let me relax and practice. I still train as hard as anyone who didn't wrestle. But it is comforting to know. I've been in state finals before. Wrestled in college matches. So it's comforting to know I'm going out there in another one-on-one sport with a guy and have had success in a previous sport, that was one-on-one. But at the same time, I mean, I still feel like I outwork all of my opponents. I'd say that's my greatest asset is that I outtrain my opponents.
And that's pretty impressive, people, considering some of the fighters that he's fought, because I've seen them firsthand, and they are a tough bunch of guys. Why is it important for you to win this tournament?
This is a huge opportunity for me. Well, for one, you win this tournament, your name's automatically out there. I mean, you know, everyone who's in this tournament, people know them from their area. You know, I mean, you know, I've gathered a nice little local following, and I'm guessing that the other fighters with their resume on paper have probably gathered a nice little local following. And so, you know, you beat those guys, and then all of a sudden the people from where they're from know who you are. You know, and then any tournament you win in mixed martial arts is going to put your name out there. So, and, you know, everybody is a legitimate fighter. So win this tournament, and you know, puts me up there for something nice. And it's, you know, you win the tournament. That's 3 wins. So
Absolutely.
Not too shabby with a 3-0 pro record. So.
Do you think you have what it takes to win?
Definitely. I mean, you know, anybody can win on any given day. It comes down to how hard you train, and I definitely feel like I've out-trained my opponents for this fight.
Awesome. What can we expect to see out of Jacob the Brick Allman that night?
You can always expect to see an athlete going to work. I mean, you can expect me to see takedowns, control, look for ground and pound. I like, you know, that's what I look for every fight. I mentioned that earlier. I am spending the entire fight trying to mount you and put my hands in your mouth. You know, I'm literally trying to pound out every one of my opponents. I mean, submissions are awesome, but I want ref stoppage from strikes every time I fight. That's my goal.
What do you know about your opponent, Troy Dollar?
Don't know much about him, really. I'm not one to really watch film on my opponents, to be honest with you. I know he's a kickboxer, and I fought several kickboxers. You know, they're not all the same. They all have, you know, their specific combos and that sort of thing they like to do. But I've never seen him fight. Couldn't tell you how tall he is, or, you know, I know he fights at 155, and we were both undefeated. Like I say, he's a kickboxer, and so I think it'll be a nice clash of styles, and we'll see what happens that night.
Now, he comes from Team Oxendine, who they're a really tough group of guys coming out of Johnson, Tennessee. They're known for their mixture of a style. Troy Dollar has been known more for his kickboxing and his jiu-jitsu. You're a wrestler. He's a jiu-jitsu player. Does that scare you in any way? Does that change your game plan?
No. I'm not going to change my game plan for anybody. I like my style of fighting. I think styles collide. I think every mixed fight is different. You know, it's comforting to know that I have the wrestling. I trained with a lot of good jiu-jitsu people, and you know, a lot of jiu-jitsu guys I control well, and then there's some that I don't have success with, and there's some that I do well with. You know, I think that night we'll find out. But I'm not going to change my game plan for him for anything. You know, he's gonna. I'm pretty sure he knows what he's going to see. You know, I'm going to be looking for big throws, big takedowns, and that's my game. I mean, you watch any of my fights, and that's what you see. And so, I don't think it'd be any different that night.
Awesome. How would you like to win the fight, Jacob?
Well, anyway, I'll take anyway, because I'm pro now, so I'm making more money if I win the fight, obviously. But ultimately, for me, my goal every time is ref stoppage from strikes. I think that's the ultimate victory for me. You know, I mean, you basically, you know, your opponent is doing nothing but covering up, and that to me, it's better than a submission. And I've never knocked anyone out, but I'd say for me that's better than a knockout, because, you know, I think there's a lot of luck involved with knockouts, but this, I mean, basically he's submitting to you without a submission, and I think that's the most dangerous way to win is ref stoppage strikes.
Great. Are you going to win the tournament?
I will win the tournament, I feel like. I mean, I feel like the only thing you got to do to win any fight is out-train your opponents. I feel like I've done that, and you know, I take it one round at a time. I'm not going to look past it. I mean, I got to beat Troy Dollar, and you know, and go from there to the second round. But like I say, I got as good a chance as anybody, and somebody from this tournament is going to go to one of the big shows. I mean, you got eight of the best fighters, you know, in this region, and somebody's going to go big time from this show. So I don't see why it couldn't be me.
That would be awesome to see the winner of this tournament, or possibly multiple people from this tournament, be in the UFC or Strikeforce within the next couple of years. Is there anything that you'd like to say to your opponent, Troy Dollar, while you got the chance?
I'm not sure. You know, I'm not the guy that's going to come up there and talk a lot of trash. I mean,
so you're not Buck Nasty.
I'm not Buck Nasty. No. I like to consider myself a classy guy. You know, this is a sport. Competed in a lot of sports in my life, you know, and you know, I got respect for anybody that steps into the cage. And like I say, I mean, I don't look at this as a fight. You know, to me, this is a sport, and I plan on winning. And so, you know, best of luck to him. I hope his training camp goes well. I hope he's injury-free in the fight. You know, I don't want to win as a result of him, you know, being injured coming in the fight. I want to legitimately beat him. So, you know, best of luck to him, and you know, we'll see him there that night.
All right, well, Jacob, we appreciate you taking the time to stop in and talk to us. We'll see you guys at the Sport Fight X Grand Prix, 155-pound, undefeated.